Hey guys, today we're going to talk about King Behemy. He is finally here, and we'll talk about his normal form, his brave shift form, sample builds, and summary, and why you should pull for it. Alright, so let's go. Here is his Trust Master reward. It's a Sawtooth, attack 100, defense 135, activate inhuman deafness, chance of evading some physical attacks. So Sawtooth can be crafted to Sawtooth Plus using Bastion of Behemoth. You can get the Bastion of Behemoth from the Brawler from Below the Depths event point rewards, and by fusing it with Sawtooth. So Sawtooth Plus will give the same stats, but it will have a boost in HP and defense by 30%. Right, so 135 plus 30 def will be the highest defense greatsword in the game right now, and it's very great on Behemy himself. The amount of physical evasion is 10%. Alright, so it's a one-handed greatsword. Next is his Super Trustmaster reward. It's called the Pride of the Behemoth. Boost defense by 40 and boost equipment defense when a single weapon is equipped in both hands. So this is the first and only materia that has defense TDH for now. It's a great materia for King Behemy and for any non-evade physical attacks, since it gives defense passive and a huge chunk of equipment defense when single wielding any weapon with or without shield. So it's kind of like Master of Fate, except it's just 100% defense. Alright, here is this vision card, a King's Dominion. At max level 10, defense 60 and HP 1100. At level 4, it gives a chance of evading some physical attacks. Level 7 boosts HP by 30, and level 10 boosts defense by 50% when equipped with a large sword. FFBE units only. So this is the first vision card that has a physical evade passive. And additionally, the flat defense 60 at max level is lower than Judge Magister's 80. That's Envy Gabrant's vision card. However, the flat HP is higher at 1100 compared to the latter's 800. So this is also great on King Behemy since he wants the defense passive. He's going to be equipped with his TMR anyway, which is a great sword. He wants the HP passive as well, and if you want to build him an evade or an evade physical tank, he wants the evade passive as well. This video is sponsored by Amazon Coins. Get 10,000 Amazon Coins for $80 instead of $100. That's a savings of 20%. You can use the Amazon Coins to buy lapis for FFBE. I placed a link in the description below. Check it out after you watch the video. Alright, so we're gonna talk about his base form. King Behemy is a physical tank and buffer / support in his base or normal form. Looking at his flat stats or base stats, he has high defense and high spirit. So spirit and defense are equal, but you can only door pot them up to 20. Usually it's up to 32, but it can be potted up to 40. HP is also high, and as well as his MP. Alright, so he doesn't have any innate elemental resistances. He does have some status element resistance, which we'll talk about in his passives. His Brave Shift ability, he doesn't have true Brave Shift, but he can Brave Shift on turn 1 for infinite turns. Cooldown to normal is 2 turns, and then cooldown to Brave Shift is 3 turns. He can equip swords, great swords, axes, mace, and fists, and he can equip all types of armor. He doesn't have any magic affinity whatsoever. Alright, so King Behemy is a physical tank that can provide a pre-emptive cover at the start of battle, on revival, or after Brave Shift. He is the first unit in the game that can do this. Later on, when Sigurd can be awakened to New Vision, he can do that as well. So Protect the Weak is his cover ability. It protects all allies from physical damage, 80 with damage mitigation, 70 to 85 for 4 turns a caster.
increase defense 250 for 4 turns to caster. And then Frilly and Ferocious, it is his provoke ability, 100% for 4 turns to caster. It also mitigates damage taken 50% for 4 turns to caster, kind of on the low side there. And then mitigate physical and magical damage taken against demons 50% for 4 turns to caster. Alright, and then last is Concrete Cover. This will be auto-cast via his passive. It's a chance to protect all allies from physical damage, 80% with damage mitigation, 50% to 60% for 1 turn to caster. So it's not a perfect chance to protect all allies from physical damage, but it's quite high though. And he is kind of like the physical version of Shoreline, Daisy, and Fina's preemptive cover. Alright, so he can deal damage using his Bolting Strike ability. It can be triple casted and it scales with his defense instead of attack and lowers the accuracy of the enemy by 10%. It can also do increased damage to the break gauge of an enemy when using Great Swords. The latter skill adds 5 stacks of Mirage for himself, so it's pretty useful too since it adds Mirage. So Royal Rake is his Bolting Strike ability. It does physical damage 65 with defense scaling. Single target, it decreases physical accuracy 10% for 4 turns to 1 enemy. And then Cleaving Saw, physical damage with increased break damage 500% for a Great Sword to 1 enemy. Evade 5 physical attacks for 4 turns to caster. Alright, King Behemy has a multitude of support skills. Since he is a support or buffer in base form, he specializes in Earth Imbues and Earth Damage Amplification. He can also cure all ailments, increase ailment resist, and cure stat breaks, and increase stat break resistance as well as stop and charm. So Quake Aura is on a 4-turn cooldown. It's available on turn 1. This skill adds Earth Element physical attacks for 4 turns to all allies, so Earth Imbue to all allies. It also increases Earth, physical, and magic damage 20% for the same amount of turns. This can't be dispelled, but the Earth Imbue can be dispelled. Departed Kingdom's Mantle. This cures all status ailments to caster. Cure all stats break to caster. Increase resistance to status ailments 100% for 4 turns to all allies, and increase resistance to all breaks, stop and charm for 4 turns to our allies. Alright, so do note that the ailments to cast status ailments and stat breaks are only to the caster, not to the party. Alright, so in addition, King Behemy can buff the party stats, increase all element resistance, and apply barriers. He can also provide the party with physical and magic damage mitigation and 4 stacks of Mirage. So No Need for Armor is a 4-turn cooldown available on turn 1. This mitigates physical damage against demons 20% for 4 turns to our allies. It also mitigates physical damage taken 40% for 4 turns to our allies, and applies 4 stacks of Mirage for 4 turns to our allies. So that's going to be useful as well. Maybe in Dark Visions also. So it's 2 types of mitigation, physical against demons, and then physical damage taken for general enemies. King's Barrier is also on a 4-turn cooldown, available on turn 1, increase defense and spirit 250 and attack and mag 200 for 4 turns to our allies. Increase all element resistance 80% for 4 turns to our allies, and grant HP Barrier 5000 for 4 turns to our allies. So note it's on a 4-turn cooldown, but the duration is 4 turns, so he can indefinitely keep a defense and spirit buff, element resistance, and HP barrier for an indefinite period of time. Alright, so if he can keep casting it, he can reapply it every 4 turns. Almighty Guard is his Magnus ability. 1 use per battle, mitigate damage taken 90% for 2 turns to caster, and mitigate physical magic damage taken 50% for 2 turns to our allies. Alright, so his Limit Burst is a cover skill that buffs the party's defensive stat by 300% and provides a 50% general damage mitigation to the party. It also has demon-specific physical damage mitigation. So Behemoth Body at max LB Max level, it will cost 40 LB. If unleveled, it will cost 80 LB. So you will save. You can cast it sooner if you max it out. Chance to protect all allies from physical damage 100% with damage mitigation 75 to 85 for 3 turns to caster. Also increase defense and spirit by 300%. Mitigate damage taken 50% and mitigate physical damage taken against demons 30% for 3 turns to all allies. Alright, so base form, what are his passives? What does it look like? So with his SMR equipped, King Behemy will have 350 defense TDH or defense equipment defense. He has 200% HP, 80% defense passives, and innate dual wield, and 100% increase in chain modifier cap. So you would only need Savior Souls Lightning's SUMR to cap his chain modifier. Alright, so just going down the list, defense and HP 50. He also has 100% defense and 100% what do you call that? HP, Spirit, and MP Trust. 100% HP, but the defense is only 30%. This is his Trust passive. Another MP 20%, another 50% Spirit and HP. And then another Trust passive will be his defense CDH. The 150 will be non-conditional. He also has some Spirit TDH at 250. And then defense true dual wield if you want to gear him for dual wielding. Alright, so he has a chance of being targeted 70%, so you only need 30% to make him passive provoke 100%. He also has magic evasion 50%, that's actually good. Physical evasion 30%, but his TMR, SUMR and Vision Guard have physical evade. Minus his SUMR. And then he has Guts. He can also counter magic and physical attacks with Regenerating Rage. Regenerating Rage restores HP and MP 10% to caster. And then it restores MP 10% to all allies except himself. He is resistant to Paralyze, Confuse, Petrify, Stop, and Charm. So Stop and Charm there is really important as well. Enable dual wielding of one-handed weapons. So in a dual wield, he can fill LB fill rate 100%, MP refresh 7%. Concrete cover is his preemptive cover, and then monolithic build is his mitigate physical damage taken 20%. So he will have that permanently. So 20% mitigate physical damage. He can also emergency buff his defense and spirit stats by 300 when going down 50%. And his normal attack will be upgraded to Boulder Claw once you reach the desired level. Boulder Claw does earth physical damage 50 with defense scaling to one enemy bolting strike. So if you're single wielding, he will only do this once. Dual wielding, he will do that twice. Alright, so what are his base form's weaknesses? King Behemy has low defense passives, 80%, but his CMR, SMR, and Vision Card has defense passive, or have defense passives. So it adds up to 200% if you have all of them equipped, if my math is correct. Second, he has low self-mitigation at 50%. So all other physical tanks have 75 to 90% mitigation. He does have a permanent 20% physical mitigation and self-mirage stacks. His defense can only be door potted to 20, so I mentioned that before. I'm not sure why though, it usually is 32 for the main stat of the unit. He has no innate elemental resistances. And he can't maximize his greatsword break ability when single wielding. He is best built true double hand instead of true dual wield. So you would do max damage to the break gauge if he would be dual wielding. Alright, so here's a sample build for King Behemy. It's really easy to build. He already has 350% defense TDH with this SMR and 200% defense with his TMR, SMR, and Vision Card equipped. So There are at most 2 extra slots for killers or utility. So we're gonna equip his Sawtooth Plus, Reverie Shield from Mercenary Ramza, that's his SMR. You can also equip Attractive Shield from Sieghard, that's his SMR. You can also get the Attractive Shield from the exchange shop using summon coins. Grand Helm Plus Plus from a trial, Gubrand's Armor from Gubrand. You can also equip Wilhelm's SMR if you want. Impenetrable Pendant, that's from I think a Parameter mission. Emperor's Ring. Pride of the Behemoth, that's his SMR. Demon's Gambit from Demon Rain would cap his defense CDH. Vision card is a King's Dominion. That's his own vision card. Alright, you can also swap out his vision card for Snow's vision card. So you can get the defense CDH, but you have to equip either a fist or an axe, I think. Alright, so that's how you build him for a sample build. Alright, so we're going to talk about his Braveshift form. He's still a physical tank in Braveshift form, but he does add some more classes like Damage Healer and Debuffer. He boasts more HP and defense than his Braveshift base form at the cost of lower spirit. So look at the chart there. He does have more defense and more HP, but lower spirit. Alright, so he can still equip the same equipment, both weapons and armor, and he still doesn't have any elemental resistance, but he does have status element resistance, the same as his base form. Alright, so he still has access to some of his base abilities, including Triple Cast. So Cleaving Saw, Protect the Weak, Royal Rake, and Wake Aura can still be accessed in his Braveshift form. And then he gains a bunch of abilities from different chaining families. All of them scales with his defense. So Aggressive Heave is from the Absolute Mirror of Equity family, physical damage 50 with defense scaling to one enemy. This decreases or debuffs the enemy's stats by 70% for 4 turns to one enemy. Comet Bash is from Avalanche Kick family. Not sure who is gonna chain this with. Physical damage 55 with defense scaling to one enemy. Mitigate physical damage taken 50% for 4 turns to caster. And lastly, Comet Blast is from Stardust Ray chaining family. Physical damage 55 again with defense scaling to one enemy. Mitigate magic damage taken 50% for 4 turns to caster. Next is he can imperil all elements while doing damage and providing defensive buffs to the party. He can also buff physical and magic demon killer to the party, similar to Dark Fina and Saw. He is the second unit to have the AoE demon killer. So Meteor Shield is on a 4-turn cooldown, available on turn 1. This increases defense spirit by 300% for 4 turns to caster. Increase physical accuracy 100% for 4 turns to caster, so he's not gonna miss. Defense decrease all elements resistance 115 for 4 turns to all enemies. So similar to Kryla, who can imperil all elements. Physical damage 80 with defense scaling to all enemies, and then physical damage 150 with defense scaling to all enemies. Bolting Strike. So this Meteor Shield is a heavy hitter with 80 and 150, but you can only cast this once though every 4 turns. Generations of Behemoths to use for battle. This is a cover. Alright, cover skill. Chance to protect all allies from physical damage 100% for 2 turns to one enemy. Increase physical damage against demons 150% for 2 turns to our allies, and then increase magic damage against demon 150 for 2 turns to all allies. Alright, so his Limit Burst can imperil Earth to all enemies before doing massive damage that scales with his defense. Additionally, it provides a gigantic barrier at 15,000 and applies a 10-stack Mirage for himself. So World Cleaver is 5 hits, 40 LB if you max it out, 80 if you unlevel it, if it's unleveled. Decrease Earth Resistance 130 for 5 turns to enemies. So this is on par with Dark Fina and Soul's Earth Imperil. If I'm not wrong, I think it's Dark Fina or Dark Fina and Soul. Physical damage 180 with defense scaling to all enemies, so that's a high modifier there. And we can almost max out his defense if you have the Demon Range SCMR. Grant HP Buyer 15,000 for 5 turns to caster, and then evade 10 physical attacks for 5 turns to caster. So really nice LB there. 5 hits you can maybe weave it in a chain, so it will connect all the 5 hits. Alright, so we're just gonna figure out how to fill his LB and how to buff his LB damage. You could do some damage with this World Cleaver skill. Alright, so he has the same passives except his counter ability, which fills his and the party's LB gauge. So the counter is similar to Savior Soul's Lightning's counter in her base form. So the only change is mounting Rage for countering physical magic attacks. So this increases LB gauge 10 to caster. So if he counters every turn, he would fill his LB gauge on the 4th turn, at the start of the 4th turn, or at the start of the 5th turn. Regardless, if he can counter every turn, he will fill his LB gauge naturally. Increase LB gauge 5 to all allies except cast. Alright, so you can fill LB gauge for your allies every turn if he counters every turn, or 5 LB crest. Alright, what are the weaknesses for his Brave Shift form? He doesn't have access to a skill that grants general damage mitigation in his Brave Shift form, although he still has magic and physical mitigation. He doesn't have any LB damage passives, if you noticed, nor LB damage buffs to take advantage of his LB's high modifier. So this can be fixed with an LB focus build and an external damage buffer like Yoshikiri, BS form, Lumina, and Cindy. Those are 5-star bases. You can also include Realm in there, and Azure and Cleom. Alright, some trivia here. King Behemoth was made by forgot his name, but he was chosen from the winners of the FFBE Fan Festa 2019 unit design contest. He takes extra damage from Beast Clear sources, and you can test out his abilities as a guest unit through his unit intercrest from 422 to 55 EDT. And the passive ability Behemoth King permanently changes his default attack upon reaching the prerequisite unit level. So this will override the unit from using a standard normal attack. So if you don't want him doing the earth attack that scales with the defense bolting strike, you shouldn't level him to reach Behemoth King passive. But that would severely limit you from his other abilities. So King Behemoth, his background is he once ruled over a faraway kingdom. Having fought his way to the top, he sees all others as inferior and requiring of his protection, a trait which proved instrumental as a leader. After growing tired of the peace of his kingdom, he decided to leave on a journey in search of something new to protect. Although King Behemy can easily rip apart enemies with his menacing weapon, the Sawtooth, many flee from battle simply due to this frightening appearance, something he finds rather concerning. So he was just bored, he wants to protect something. He doesn't get a chance to protect all that much because everyone is afraid of his appearance and his Sawtooth weapon. Alright, so who are the best companions? If you want to use him as an LB damage trainer in Brave Shift form, bring some units who can provide LB damage buff like Yoshikiri. Lumina can also buff damage and also fill LB gauge. Cindy and Realm, you can also include Eurasia there, and Azure and Cleom. Envy Faris can also further increase his damage output via her area effect when summoning Golem. So if Faris summons Golem, she will apply Earth physical damage 25% for 3 turns to all areas, which will boost Behemy's earth damage and all the other party members' damage. So in summary, King Behemy is a physical tank with great utility. He has access to a preemptive physical cover ability. It's the first in the game. However, Envy Siegard will get that as well, but he has less utility compared to Behemy. He puts up cover right after he gets revived, so that's a huge plus. Even if you don't put re-race on him and race him on your turn, he will still have that cover, although he won't have any buffs. He can also provide Self and AoE Mirage, AoE Imbue Earth and boost Earth damage to the party, Imperil Earth by 130 and all elements by 115, making him a flexible unit. It doesn't matter what element you're going for, but it's only 115 though. Most Imperils will be 120 to 130. Number 4, fill the party's LB gauge via his Brave Shift counter. He can buff the party stats and elemental resist. He can cure and prevent ailments, including stop and charm, but the cure is only limited to himself. Remove and prevent stat breaks. Again, the removal of stat breaks is limited to himself, but he can prevent stat breaks for the party. Number 9, chain with multiple chaining families: Bolting Strike, Stardust Ray, Avalanche Kick, and AMOE. If you equip the Arrhenius Ring on him and have... he doesn't have any black magic capabilities, by the way, so sorry about that. Number 10, function as an LB damage dealer or physical chainer, whichever you like. Then function, provide Demon Killer, physical and magical to the party. Number 12, decrease enemy accuracy, although it's just a small amount, 10%. Provide gigantic barriers using his skill and also his LB. Do increased damage to the enemy's break gauge when using Greatsword. Provoke single target attacks. And then you can either build him for passive provoking. He has 70% passive. And then last is provide physical and magical damage mitigation to the party. So if you can see here, he has a lot of classes: damage healer, buffer, physical tank, and also support unit. So he brings a lot to the table. He can do a lot of stuff. He can also preemptive cover, which only he can do right now. So really good unit. So should you pull? Number 1, if you don't have a physical tank like Envy Gabranth or Envy Snow, absolutely yes. If you haven't beaten Scorn of Asura yet because you don't have Gabranth, if you want to go to the tank strategy, there's also a strategy without using a tank, but I haven't tried that out yet. Alright, so if you want a preemptive physical cover tank, yes, pull for him. If you want a unit with a lot of utility, yes, he kind of reminds me of Sylvie. If you want to build an Earth team, yes, because he can AoE Earth Imbue and AoE Earth Amp, and he can also imperil by 130% Earth. So if you want to build an Earth physical team, maybe a magical team as well, pair him up with Faris and you boost physical Earth damage further by 25%. If you want a unit that can buff Demon Killer, physical and magic to the party, and you are missing Dark Fiend and Sol, yes. Like me, I skipped Dark Fiend and Sol, so I don't have a Demon Killer buffer except Son and some single target Demon Killer buff unit. If you want his Sesimar that has 100% defense CDH, yes. That will be good on any tank unit. If you simply love his unique sprite and design, yes. Although his base form sprite is nice, his Brave Shift form sprite is amazing. Lastly, if you're saving for Envy Luna Freya, which will be coming soon, if my predictions are correct, she should come maybe next week or next week. depending on if they're gonna delay Arden. But Arden should come next week, and maybe Lunafreya will come the week after that. Or if you're saving for Arden, if you didn't pull on Noctis, skip Noctis, and then if you're gonna pull on Arden for the Dark damage dealer, or Full Metal Alchemist collaboration. We're not really sure if that's gonna come to global, but those are my predictions. And you don't want to spend money for Lapis. You're hoarding all your Lapis for Lunafreya to either guarantee her or hit the safety net. So skip, by all means, you should skip. You think about the number of reasons why you should pull for it. Alright guys, that's it. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if I missed anything about King Behemy. I, for one, will think about pulling him, check my Lapis reserves, if I have enough to pull for Envy Lunafreya. Once again, guys, my name is Azure, and I make FFBE content and other gaming content every day. If you're interested in that, consider subscribing to my channel. You can also find me in other social media. The links are in the description. For those who already subscribed, thank you very much for the support. Thank you for helping my channel grow, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.